Yeah, I'll put the wood on the top.
Right, man! No!
Hey, good afternoon.
Gather round!
The folks out there, you see, they represent the 41st Regiment of Foot. So they went to Canada in 1799. So they were a garrison there when the War of 1812 broke out. So that's what kind of today is about. The 41st were in part of the capture of Detroit. So Detroit, Michigan, that was captured by the British on August 16, 1812. So just over 200 years ago. The 41st went on to become the Welsh Regiment, so that was the first battle on the river. Right, so they're firing Brown Bess muskets, so they're a smooth bore, a flintlock, so that's the activation. So it's literally a piece of stone or flint held in a pair of vice or jaws. It strikes the steel, makes sparks, lights the powder in a touch pan, which ignites the main charge in the barrel. You see, as they load, they reach into their cartridge box, draw out a cartridge. It's a paper tube that would have powder and a ball in it. They bite the end off, put a little bit of prime in, cast about, rest of the powder down the barrel. And if they were ramming, they'd ram the cartridge and ball down, and they're ready to fire. So in conditions like this, if they're doing really well or well trained, they might fire about 3 rounds a minute. You know, modern firearms, they talk about number of rounds per second. So it was a much different, rate of fire, different tactics driven by that. These muskets were notoriously inaccurate, so they wouldn't aim at individual targets. The weapon the officer would wield, it would be a big section of men. So the idea of put their muskets down, point in the direction of the enemy, throw a wall of lead out, and hope you hit something. Because quite often the balls would spin up, down, in the ground. A lot of Americans are firing back. Any questions about the uniform, the men, or what's going on here? Is that great?
Make ready! High port, present! Very high
I think the only thing I'd seen was in winter dress, and you'd have maybe some fur. Yeah. For the most part, none of the standard uniforms have, just as they would for garrison.
Come closer. We haven't lit it yet.
Not very happy with the uniform.
March! Charge! Bayonets! Huzzah! Company! Hold! Shoulder! Arm! Right for the bow! Pace! Forward! March!
Not many battles would be a few well-placed volleys and then chase the enemy off at the point of the bayonet. So. We're checking to make sure their muskets are safe or clear. There's no charge remaining in the barrel. You ever hear the expression flash in a pan? Yeah. You know what that means? Yeah. Right? Sometimes you're firing a musket. Ooh. Maybe just the prime burned and it didn't burn through to the charge in the barrel. So that's partly what they're checking for. So that's called you just flashed in the pan. Alright, and then these muskets, parts of the muskets. So it's the lock, stock, and barrel. So that's where that expression comes from. Right? So the firing mechanism's the lock. Another one going off at half cock. All right, so the safety position for the musket, you draw the cock back halfway, it locks into place. So if you pull the trigger, it can't fire. You draw it all the way back to full cock, then it's activated, then it can fire. So if a musket is not properly maintained, if it's faulty, then it'll fire at half cock, and that's a fault. So that's where that expression comes from. So this group's based here in Cardiff. So they portray the 41st Regiment. I'm part of a group based in Canada that also portrays the 41st Regiment, so I'm here as a guest for them this weekend. We chose your regiment, the Welsh Regiment, the 41st, just because they won the most battle honours out of any British regiment in the North American campaigns, and they just did outstanding service, particularly in Upper Canada throughout the war.
Section eyes, right?
Feel free to visit the camps, talk to the different reenactors. They love to talk about what they do and with their equipment and everything else. And the show starts, I think, at 4 o'clock, the official thing. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.